Oh, beautiful and lovely gamers, my name is Jonal. Genji has gotten a hidden buff on the live server. On top of that, how is actually McCree faring in this kind of new environment when he's now finally on live? He's been played around. How does he actually fare against other heroes? How strong or weak is he actually? And roll lock for stage 4 must have been leaked by a Korean cast. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we start, when this video is live, I will be streaming on Twitch. It will be my last day streaming on Twitch for probably a very long time, as you know, I have to visit family this summer and stuff is going on. So this will be the last stream. It's linked down in the description. I will be streaming from now and all the way at like 6 to 8 hours, so you can probably catch it. We will do Overwatch League breakdowns. We'll be coaching a 4.1k player, and in general, just having a good time. I will be probably playing a couple of games. You guys can ask me a question. We will do guess my SR, watch highlights, watch montages, and so on. So I hope I see you there. And as always, guys, if you want to hire me as a private coach this summer and you want to kind of improve yourself as a player, you can hit me up on the Discord sub, which is linked down in the description, which you join anyway. And it's €50 for a 2-hour session. Doesn't matter if you're bronze or top 400. So, with no further ado, let's begin. So, the Genji buff essentially was that beforehand you could not, if your end of your blade, you could not pop deflect, because if you pop deflect, it would cancel your deflect in favor of doing your blade sheathing animation. That is no longer so, however. Right now, if you pull the blade and you turn on in the end of your blading animation, if you pop deflect, you will hold the deflect for its full duration, and then the sheathing animation will happen in after deflect, which first, of course, gives you a little bit of room to kind of work with your deflect. So you can, you know, in the end of, if for example, beforehand, if somebody high nooned in the end of your blade, there was nothing you could do about it, because if you tried to deflect it back at them when there was only, like, say, 1 second left of your blade or half a second left of your blade, after that 1 second or half a second, the blade would just cancel your deflect immediately and you would get shot down. And second of all, this also does that since we can deflect, we can do anything related to deflect. So that means that we can deflect, and because we can deflect, we can now dash in the end of our blade, and then the dash will cancel the sheathing animation. So you can deflect, then dash, then right click, then melee. So you can actually do damage combos and extend outward from the blade, making it so much faster for you and less clunky. And I like this buff, and I hope that this isn't a accident. There was a time a way back where Hanzo got a similar hidden buff, where instead of Dragon Strike flying a certain distance and then activating, Dragon Strike activated on impact. So if you shot the arrow into a wall, it would immediately pop Dragon. So I could do what I like to call shotgun Dragon Strike, which was go up to a wall and press Q, and immediately the dragon would appear in front of me. It was really fucking broken, because you could surprise chokes and so on by immediately popping a dragon. That was, however, not noted in any patch notes, and it was also removed without anyone saying anything. So that was something that just kind of went under the radar, it seems like. However, this newer Genji, I really do hope that they keep it here, because it's just a thing that it's just a quality of life. With him getting hit by so many things like the McCree buff and so on, it's just a quality of life thing. Now, how is McCree actually faring right now on the live server? I personally think that he is slightly too broken. I think that he's a little bit too strong. He's having the very, very strong end. You could argue for the fact that because of the power creeps that have been happening, which essentially is that newer heroes, like all the heroes have been revamped and beginning kind of this newer look, and then the introduction of new heroes that is more powerful than the old school roster, at least parts of the old school roster, McCree needed this buff. I personally felt that McCree was in a really good space. With his new Fender Hammer buff, he was difficult to get in close quarters, and if you had Dame, you could still do follow-up shots on him. Lowering his recoil and increasing his fire rate significantly, in my opinion, has made him a little bit too strong. Now, that is of course because I and a lot of other players are not used to McCree, so we play like it is the old McCree, like old habits, old positioning does take into consideration, right? So, for example, I would be playing my high grounds against the McCree, thinking that I have plenty of time to get out without actually remembering that, oh shit, that's the new McCree and he can punch me much faster. I just have a problem with it that, you know, you're giving him a rapid fire gun with very little recoil, so it's very easy to use for newer. He's much easier to use now. You have 2 shots per flashbang, which at least fix that. At least fix it so you don't get 2 shots per flashbang, because it makes him so much more friendly for new players, lower recoil, so and fire faster fire, so you can actually spam him and do 12 shots with him, and each shot does 70 damage, so you can spam him, you can out damage a lot of heroes on range. You can even now outpoke soldiers, which, hasn't been a thing beforehand. Normally, the soldier would outpoke the McCree, but the McCree could work better with soldier in those closer quarters, or if there was corner peaks, so on. But unlike a little bit further range, the soldier could normally out-sustain and outpoke the Kree. Now I've seen multiple scenarios where I have either dominated the soldier, or the soldier has, or I have played soldier and the Kree has dominated me, because he can spam much faster and can just deal more damage, and it's easier to hit each shot. On top of that, as I said, a flashbang that can hit 2 shots. It's how many times haven't I now been stunned by a McCree, seen him miss his first headshot, which before was unacceptable. If you flashed at the tracer and you missed the headshot, that meant that, okay, you need to practice that, you need to learn that, you need to improve, so that you can flash and immediately lock onto the head and then land the headshot. Now it's flash, miss the headshot, fires again, hits the headshot. So you get 2 shots, which it's kind of in case you're too bad to hit the first one, just hit the second one. Which gives him so many more options on. It is a valid buff, in my opinion, meta-wise. It is something that he has been needed because of the introduction of Ashe, Hanzo, which has just been dominating and so on, where McCree has been kind of pushed out to be a little bit more of a niche pick, especially in ranked, even though a lot of people, he was played more for the flashbang, and while he still be played for the flashbang, he has at least far more option to actually kind of be on the list as a viable hit scan. I just think that there's a little bit too much, and something just gives me a bad taste in the mouth about it. I don't know what it is. If you guys agree or disagree, I would like to hear down in the comments. And then Vodok was actually leaked not too long ago by the Overwatch League, kind of the Korean channel, so the caster for the Korean Overwatch League cast, right? He kind of semi-leaked Roku. Essentially talking about that, there's a talk about that the Blizzard would implement it in Stage 4. He can't, of course, guarantee that it's going to implement in Stage 4, but essentially talking about it in a way, at least as I understand, I will link to the full Reddit post down below, because the video is in Korean, so this has to be translated, which is a really good job. But essentially, this has been kind of one of those things that he talks about. There's been slasher leaks, there's been a lot of things in the community, and one of the casters really make a video talking more about Blizzard can't guarantee it coming, but it has been postponed before, meaning that, okay, they are actually working on it, they have actually been making on it. There was the hint from Jeff Kaplan that what the community has been wanting for a very long time will maybe be coming this summer, and so on. Now, I personally have a problem. I would love to hear your guys' opinion down below, because it really depends on how they implement it. For example, if they implement role locks, you lock DPS, you can only pay DPS 0. I will actually be kind of mad at that, because I like my flexibility. I'm a flex player, so when I play DPS, sometimes I need to play off tank to help my main group. Even though we have 2 tanks and 2 supports, I sometimes need to play the 3rd tank to help break through a specific lane as a comp. On top of that, I don't think this will do a lot about how balances work, because when 2-2-2 was actually meta, we just played dive all the time. And now with the Baptiste, bunker is more viable. So I'm very scared that what will happen is not what a lot of people hope, and that's Orion Saria comes with these DPSs playing around them like a standard old school death ball. I think that what we will see is a lot of dive comp and a lot of bunker as a kind of okay, yeah, we're gonna play the most viable shit. Okay, cool. Let's stop playing bunker and let's stop playing dive as what we need to, because, well, what is Ryan gonna do? We have already seen what happens to a standard to death ball against dive comp. Normally, dive comp absolutely just dominates them. While they can push to the point, you just get so much more space and control over the map with your dive comp, so you can just much easier hammer the back line like that. And especially, you can also play this, of course, with a Hammond if you want to do that, just giving a little bit CC on top of it, instead of having either one of the heroes if D.Va is too weak. And this might be why they preemptively nerfed D.Va. Maybe it is to try to avoid them from playing, kind of push them away from dive comp, and maybe they will play something else. But in my personal opinion, it's just going to lock into a bunker comp or into a dive comp, which for me isn't an enjoyable way of doing it. I've had this problem for a long time, that I don't think that a row lock, as in you can only pick from this category, is going to work in Overwatch. I rather want it to be on top of the fact that there will be an autofill system, and people don't talk about that. Like in League of Legends, if League of Legends need a fucking autofill system, and that's a game built on roles, Overwatch will need an autofill system as well. Meaning, I don't want a DPS min on fucking Ryan. I don't want that, and I don't want shitty supports, because, well, we had to autofill a bunch of DPS players over to tank, especially the tank lineup. which is like a whole art on itself to play main tank and play off tank and so on. Having DPS players in those positions could be super, super weird, and having grumpy people that's too mad that they are not allowed to play what role they were giving and so on, it's just going to be, in my opinion, a little bit of a frustrating situation. I might be proven wrong, of course. I would like to hear your opinion down below. I can just see so many problems happening with this, and I'd rather would prefer a kind of role suggestion, so you essentially say what you want to play, and the game tries to put you in the game, and you can lock whatever afterwards. But essentially, it's just a way to allow the matchmaker to more easily balance games, because you tell them what you want to play before you get into the lobby, and then there will be some form of reinforcement system that will actually like, okay, yeah, if you constantly say you want to play support and you constantly get reported for not playing support, then we'll take out your profile, and if you constantly do this to get faster queue times, then you are getting, you know, a suspension from competitive because you're lying in the lock system, but not in a way that actually limits the hero pool that you're allowed to pick from. Because in my opinion, that's like one of the fun things in Overwatch, and I personally again don't like it in the competitive scene either. As a coach, as a guy that has been working in the competitive scene for a long time, innovating in team compositions and building team compositions and so on with no limits, I can kind of just pick freely. I personally found that to be one of the more fun and interesting thing to do, and one of the best thing to do. So in my personal opinion, I also like the system that we have now, where everybody can do whatever the fuck they want. As like a meta standpoint, so from a team creation standpoint, I like that way better than when we are playing 2-2 role lock, where okay, so I need 2 tanks, I need 2 supports, I need 2 DPS. That greatly limits the options that I can play with and the options that I can use to make team compositions. And so on. For example, solo tank Hammond comes will no longer be a thing, as now I have to play 2 tanks, like Hammond and someone else. And okay, how is that going to affect? A lot of team compositions are going to be affected by that, because Hammond, that doesn't work with, like, you know, 2 DPSs. Like, that's not the same. It's not the same as having triple DPS with Hammond and 2 DPSs with Hammond. That's my personal opinion. I would like to show down in the comment section below. I hope I see you on the stream. It's live right now. And in general, guys, please, the care is the positive. I love you guys very, very much. I hope you have an amazing summer. As always, guys, it's fun and enjoying. You guys keep the enemy in your crosshair.